Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jay Johnson. We're here at the Royal Church in Royal, Illinois. I'm going to share a slight meditation for you. Last week we talked about how God's Spirit comes and teaches our spirit. We've got the Spirit in us that needs to be trained and prepared. It is by spiritual teaching, by spiritual words to our own spirit. The Spirit of God does that. Now, who trains us? Well, we learned everything we know, we learn from somebody. Sometimes the teachers are good, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we pay attention to the right thing, and sometimes we pay attention to the wrong thing. We're all like that. There are some people that come from broken homes because they don't have parents that have properly instructed them. And so what do? They end up following bad choices, bad examples, bad lifestyles. But we live in cultures, well, right here in Royal, we have these opportunities to teach and to tell and to train. Years ago, 1970s, I used to work for the Forest Service. And I was a fairly new Christian. I worked in Oregon. I worked on a place called the Ukiah Ranger District. I was one of the guys that I cleared trails and did that sort of thing. And two of the guys I worked with were two guys named Mouse and Butch. Mouse he was a short guy, and he kind of looked like a mouse. But he was really interesting to be around. Both these guys were local boys. They grew up in the area. It's a very small town. I think the town, today probably has about 195 people, something like that. But anyway, Mouse and Butch were on this team. They went out and they worked in the Forest Service, and their job was to prepare for timber sales. And so Mouse and Butch, they were the guys that went out and examined the trees, and they kind of calculated the footage in the forest. I was standing there one day and I said, hey Mouse, how big around is that tree over there? And it was about 25 feet away. He looked at it, 28 and a half inches diameter, or circumference. So I went over and I measured it. It was 28 and a quarter inches in circumference. I thought, well, that's pretty good. You know why it was so good is because that's what he did all the time. But when you're with somebody who does the same thing all the time, they get good at it. And that's what we do when we hang around the right people long enough. We're like the disciples, we learn. Well, the other guy on that crew, it was a two-man crew, his name was Butch. And Butch was he was a new Christian, and he was asking really good questions. He said, and I was just a guy that went to church. I wasn't a pastor or anything, but I just, I knew something about the Bible. So Butch said, hey, you want to come over to our house, Thursday night? We'll cook up some crawdads. So he had a big crawdad trap in the little river that was there. And he went down there, and we always a trap about as big as this table, about 3 feet wide. It was about 2.5, 3 feet deep. Yeah. Probably 500 crawdads in it. So we got a couple of bushel of crawdads out. We hauled them over, put them in the back of his pickup truck, went to his house. And this is what we did. He and his wife cooked the crawdads, and they got this whole cooking pot about this big. They drained the water, and they just poured these crawdads out on the table. We sat there for about 2 hours, cracking these little guys open and eating. And you know what Butch was doing? He was asking questions. And I didn't know all the answers, because who was I? I'm just some other guy. But Butch was interested. And when a guy is interested, when a person is interested, when a kid is interested, when a lady's interested, then we need to be there to make sure that they got some answers. We can't simply say, well, you better go talk to that guy or that guy over there, or why don't you come to church on Sunday? That doesn't cut it. They need to be talked to person. Because you see, that's exactly what Jesus Christ did with his 12 guys. He only had 12 guys. And he spent 3 years with them. Obviously, he had all those other guys that he walked around with, but he had these 12 guys. And not all of them followed him. But the good thing was, he took the time. So what I'm telling you folks is, you have things to say. You may not think they're that important. But if you got kids, your kids are going to listen to you. You got grandkids, nephews, nieces. Your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, your nieces, they will listen. But you need to tell them the things they need to know. The things they need to know, not necessarily the things they want to know, because you're the wiser one. You are the image bearer. You're in the image of God, and you have all that information, that knowledge inside here. Now, you may not think it's much, but it is. And what you have to say, if it comes out in little bitty chunks, that's fine. You don't have to give them the whole feast at one time. Just get out those little bitty chunks. And the key thing is, make sure you take just a little time just to pray for them. Okay? Well, thanks for coming. I just want to check in with that. I've got another one coming up. Check out in a couple of days. I'll have another one also about the same topic, about the Spirit. Thanks for coming. Bye now.